Are you ready, Trish?
I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, Trish Steely. Is it Steely? It's Steely
Steel.
here.
Woman of Steel.
Oh, woman I Steel.
Oh, Superman.
She's related to Bethlehem Steel.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I married into that name. And after 30 years of having that name, I divorced, and I just was really used to that name by then. So I'm not related to any Steels except for my children. Hi, everybody. This is my first story slam. Nancy invited me. And I went with a story that is not literal about the mask, a little bit more abstract. So the story begins in Manhattan in 1980. I moved into Manhattan with $300 in my pocket and a dream to be a musical theater star. My mother was insane, but I did what all actors in New York City do, and I got a job waiting tables. So I lived on the East Side, and I had to take the bus across to Lexington. I took the Lexington line down, and I was working in a coffee shop called the Lenox Hill Diner right across from Lenox Hill Hospital. I was waiting to do a production of Grease that didn't start till October, but I had to pay my rent in the meantime. So I took this job knowing it was going to be a finite job. I don't know, maybe it was 2 weeks at the job. I get off the subway on 77th Street, and the diner was like 72nd, so I had to walk a few blocks down. And I was still new in the city, but I was taking it all in and seeing everything. And this one day, I'm coming down the street, and I noticed this man, a homeless man. And he's in a cardboard box that he's sort of sat on its side, and he's got it propped up like he's sat it on top of the subway grates because he can stay warm that way. He had like maybe 4 or 5 garbage bags covering him and several layers of clothing underneath. And his hair is, I'm giving you the picture of the typical homeless person, matted hair, long, gray. He looked dirty. He looked like he hadn't showered in a very, very long time. And I had not noticed him there on my other walks down the street, but there's so much going on Lexington Avenue, that's not unusual. So as I start to pass the box, for some reason, I looked down at him, and he looked right at me. And he had these piercing blue eyes. And I remember having an odd feeling, like I felt a little creeped out, I remember the hair on my neck sort of stood up a little bit, but I looked at him and I said, "How are you?" And I kept walking. He stood up and he started to follow me. Now, the hair's going up, I'm like, what the, because I've only been in the city a couple of weeks and I've heard all of the stories. But meanwhile, it is daylight, So I keep going. I get to the Lenox Hill Diner and I come into the doorway and he steps into the foyer behind me. And now I'm kind of getting ready to wet myself, And he looks right at me and he extends his hand. And I look at his hand. His hand is clean. Not only is it clean, it's manicured. And I just went, okay. And I shook his hand. And he said, "My name is Nico Hartos. I'm a playwright. I'm writing a play about homeless people. I've been seated in that box for the last 3 months during the day. You are the first person that acknowledged my existence in 3 months' time." He hands me his card. He said, "I'd like to invite you and a friend to dinner next Wednesday night." And he writes on the back, "Tavern on the Green." I was like, oh, wow, I had never been to Tavern on the Green. But I was so fascinated by this encounter that I thought, I have to see this through. So one of my roommates, I moved into the city with a girl that I had done theater with and a guy that I had done theater with. She was gay, he was gay. We were sort of like Three's Companies, two gays and a straight. It was strange. But I took Peggy with me. We get there, and I mean, if you've ever been to the Tavern on the Green, it's like, it's breathtaking, you know? And so the maitre d' says, oh, I said, I'm here to see Nico Hartos. Well, apparently he was a regular because he took us right over to the table. But as we're approaching the table, I'm like, I see this man in a white dinner jacket and like long, beautiful gray hair. So handsome. Woman next to him, beautiful redhead, also dressed in white. And I say to the maitre d', oh, that, I don't think that's him. It's like, no, that's Nico. And so Peggy and I sit down and I begin to learn all about him and his life. He was in the original, you remember the studio TV shows that they did live? He was in those productions. He dated Marilyn Monroe for a short period of time. And everyone was walking by him because of his mask, because of the facade that he created to do this research. And I realized something about myself that I had never realized before, because I'm like, oh, I am so accepting of other people. I'm so compassionate. I don't have any prejudices. I don't have any biases. Obviously, I did. Because just the fact of him standing up and following me, like, literally made me a little sick to my stomach. I was so scared. And I realized that at that moment, you can't make any judgments based on the mask. Because we all wear the mask. And when we reveal it, it's amazing. But most people don't. Most people do not reveal who they really are. So for me, it was such a great learning experience. I tell this story to my students when we talk about prejudices, because sometimes they're so insidious, they're so ingrained that we don't even know that they're there. And Nico helped me with so many things. He's passed now, and his wife has passed too, but it was one of the neatest experiences of my life, and it really opened my mind to, well, it's cliche, but not judging a book by its cover. There's so much that's going on below the mask.